and welcome to my boat shed. My name is Panu and I am building this 15-meter liveaboard cruising sailboat here in winterish Finland already. In previous video we kind of left into this scene where are all these foundation pieces on the floor. I just finished to put all the bolts on them and I actually already tested the leveling system, which works well. More about that in just a moment. But before we start, I want to remind you that you can support this project few different ways. First, of course, is to subscribe the channel. That's free. Then there is my Patreon link down below. You can support every video and production of these videos, of course. And then there is this shop with some t-shirts and other stuff you can purchase. All the help is, of course, very much appreciated. But in this video, we're gonna continue leveling this up a little bit. I mentioned that I can't really do all of these on their place because I need to get a crane here before I can really fix these things on their places, and that's because I need to do the installation for this shed. I have talked that about 2 years already or something like that. There's still plenty of preparations to do with all this stuff. My office space right there is almost complete. I installed the door and window there, so it's ready to go. I'm probably gonna put the heat on tomorrow there, so after that I can kind of live there. And one thing, of course, is to continue cutting things with the CNC as well. I still need to cut at least 6 boards of that plywood to make all the forms for the first kind of layer for the boat. Okay, I can already feel that this place is a game changer. I put the heat on this morning. It has now been maybe 3 hours. Now 7.5 degrees here. Not yet very warm, but everything was below zero, so it takes some time to heat up. I cleaned up the window already. It should dry up in a short while. And yeah, it's very nice in here. And I can do my work here and look at my CNC machine doing its job over there. And yeah, very nice. I'm gonna have all my chargers here to charge the batteries for the power drills and stuff. I'm gonna have some shelving here to have a microwave to heat some food, maybe some tea. And of course to store glues and epoxies and stuff like that in here. So yeah, this feels absolutely amazing, I have to say. Now when I sit here it's a bit chilly still, but it goes up. And that small heater what I used underneath the insulated box, it's plenty enough for heating up this space. But alright, what's next? Today I have been doing some work in here, and meanwhile the CNC has done its job. Now I think I'm gonna start figuring out the insulation for the shed. As mentioned, I need to get the crane here before I can really start gluing things permanently to the boat, so I need some space in the middle there. So that needs to be done first, and it's not that big a deal. I think some boards of wood and the insulation crane should do the trick. So now I really need to start calculating how much I actually need things to do that. If I prepare everything, I can do those next weekend. It's now Friday. This weekend I'm gonna do all these preparations for the boat, and next week I'm gonna go and grab all the materials for the installation, and perhaps a week from now I'll have the crane in here, and then I'll do whole weekend just that installation. We'll see. Okay, a couple of days later, the heat has been on here. It feels quite nice and cozy. Things have been kind of warmed up nicely, and yeah, it's pretty good. Although it has been pretty cold the last couple of days. It's now -8 degrees or so outside. You can probably see it from my hat. So I think we'll just go briefly now outside, and I'll show you a little bit of the process of laying that bolt down there. After that I come back here and do some electric work here. I need to put a couple of more outlets for all those chargers and internet connection, but as mentioned, this is gonna be a game changer for me. It feels really good to come here and there's a warm place to sit down for a bit and think about the project and do my work here. I'll bring the screen here soon and all my other stuff I need to do my work. But yeah, let's go outside and I'll show you something. So I installed all the bolts for these sheets, and they are on their places, and I actually started to level these few pieces back here. And for that I of course use my laser level here. Let's put it on. So now it should be self-leveling like that, and then I got not the square, but I did this jig. This jig is just plywood, straight plywood with a wooden block on it that is in 90 degrees. And here you can see my marking, and this is pretty easy actually to use. I'll just put it in here like so, and now I can see the line in here and put mark on that like so. And now this is very easy to move around and see immediately if it's higher and lower than the laser. So with that I kind of went through all these, and they are now within a millimeter, I would say, and that is probably gonna be enough. The reason why I started to do that is that the highest spot of the floor is around here. So those bolts are very close to nothing, and the lowest spot is back there, and there is almost none of the thread left. So I just wanted to check if I need longer bolts, because it's actually hard to find bolts that have full thread on them. Next longer bolt size has only half thread, or even less than half of the bolt is actually threaded. So if I need longer, I need to get those from somewhere. but it seems that this is enough, so that would be great. The system works, it feels really good right now. I can pretty easily get these all in level and all those bolts down, and yeah, that's great news. This pile now contains almost all of the pieces required for the first layer. There's still a couple of pieces to cut, but I will wait until later because they would just take a small portion of one plywood. So I'll do plans for the next stage and cut them later. But with these, I can pretty much start to lay out the boat here for good. That is great. And the quality of this plywood, well, this is the cheapest plywood you can get. It's spruce and it's okay for the most part, but the veneer thickness of these is a little bit too high to really use this as a structural material for the boat. I have now cut the edges of the boat, I mean the bulwarks, so those will be this material. But I really try to get more high quality material for the rest of the structures. But eventually I don't think that's that big of a deal because all the surfaces will be covered with fiberglass or some other substance. So this surface will never be the final surface anyway. It turned out to be really difficult to find high quality plywood that is not birch plywood. Finland, after all, is the biggest manufacturer of plywood in Europe, but they really do only spruce plywood like this or high quality birch plywood. Quality that is something else than those two, they actually come from somewhere else, from Poland or Baltic countries. So yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer and a little bit surprise for me as well. So I was kind of sure that of course you can find high quality plywood from pine or spruce here, but that seems not to be the case. Yeah, these are now done. Most of these, of course, are molds here in the middle, so for them, this plywood is plenty good. Another Saturday morning. It's now early December and the winter seems to have arrived for good. It's pretty cold, around -8, -6 degrees Celsius. The forecast says it's gonna continue like this or go much colder actually next week. So I have to say last winter was pretty good for my project and this seems to be quite harsh right now, but it can change in a day or two when another low pressure comes from the south. Anyway, I managed to get all this off from the sheets. I need to clean up those joints still. There is plenty of those to do. And actually, let's go inside. It's pretty cold out here. Much better. There's a bit of something on the lens, but you can see me well enough. What I was saying, I actually found now a source of better plywood, so I'm hoping to get that next week. But there is actually some dark clouds forming up in the horizon because financial situation in Finland generally is going worse week by week. And that means that the building industry is gonna maybe not stop, but slow down significantly. And right now I have some work for maybe a month or a month and a half, but after that I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't have any new projects agreed so far, so that might affect my life quite a lot, and of course for this project. So I'm a little bit hesitating using a lot of money right now to things, but I really need to do that insulation. I have that all figured out already, so it's just about to go and grab materials and do it. So yeah, that's kind of a annoying situation, but the fact also reminded me that I have quite a lot of you guys, you followers. So as you may know, I'm a professional architect. I design buildings for a living. So if you have any projects, small or big, whatever, please contact me and I might help you with your project, and that would be great. It would support this project and my life in general. So yeah, it's a little bit unusual, but why not? I'm freezing. All right, I got all the pieces cleaned up. Here is the mold. Here's the actual boat pieces, plus a couple of molds here, and the smaller mold pieces up there. And then I got new workwear because it is freaking cold here. It's minus 11 all the time. That will continue at least a week. It probably is gonna be even colder than that in coming days. So yeah, good clothing. And now I think it's time to do the last thing for this video, and that is to fix these foundations on the middle line and on the other side. So that's gonna be exciting. I realized that I should have done one more thing for these molds, and that is to mark the middle line on them as well. But that's probably quite easy to measure from those things. They are so super accurate. For these, the accuracy doesn't really matter that much. They just need to be within 2 centimeters, I would say. So let's check it out a little bit. Here's this string underneath the foundation pieces. I think I'm gonna change it to top of this eventually, but now it's okay down there. I'm gonna tension it a little bit more. Then I'm gonna measure the middle between these bolts so that we have some kind of mark here to put these on their position. Then I need to get some measurements and get these longitudinal places for these. Let's tension that string first. It's pretty good. Now I just need to make sure that none of those foundation pieces actually sit on top of this, so it can be freely underneath the pieces down there. Alright, the middle pieces of the foundation are now quite close where they should be. Now I think I'll grab the actual mold pieces on the middle line and start laying them from the back there, and we'll see if I need to adjust them a little bit. But as mentioned, position of these is not very critical. They can live a little bit, but the molds, of course, need to be very accurate, so we'll see about that. Alright, the middle pieces are in, and I also marked these red dots. Not sure if you can see, but there's now middle line marked in every of those. So now I can pull the string over them eventually and kind of figure out that it is completely straight. And of course these are CNC cut, they should be super accurate. So they should fit like a glove. Then we can start figuring out the other edge. This starboard, I think. Right, yeah, that should be starboard. So, yeah, looking good, and this is so thrilling. You can't really imagine the feelings I'm going through. This is kind of, yeah, long time waiting for this. first piece of the boat on its place. This is the piece of the boat, this is just a mold. Pretty tight, but okay, I think. Okay, that's enough for this video. It looks amazing. Now the starboard side is almost completely on their places. There's two parts missing. They are on the last board I need to cut with the CNC, but they're not that crucial at this point. I can already see things that I did right. So first of all, this method of doing these plywood pieces, and it just works amazingly. The connections are perfect, that everything kind of fits places yeah, they just fit. It feels super sturdy. I think the shape is gonna be exactly right even without any additional measurements. They just kind of, it's so rigid and good. And also this method of making these boards underneath, I think they are 10 out of 10, because now I can already see that I need to adjust them a little bit. If I need to adjust them later, it's very easy to do. Now I just need to get the laser and kind of level them all. And yeah, it's it's just amazing to see these pieces come up from the computer screen into reality. It's such a treat. I can't really, I don't have any words for that. It was pretty fast to put it. It took maybe less than an hour to put all of these. Mostly the time went to kind of finding the right pieces to the right spot. It's amazing, yeah. So this port side is still waiting. Of course, I don't want to put anything on this side before I get all the insulation done, and I need the space for the crane, as mentioned many times before. So this will wait, and that kind of is the next step before I can really do anything else for these. I think next coming days I will get some more materials, get those materials for the insulation, maybe start to level these down a little bit. I'm not gonna bother doing that before I got everything here, so I'm gonna do the leveling afterwards. Yeah, it feels so good, and this is kind of now the highlight so far for this project and end of this video. Thank you so much for my patrons for supporting me and this project. It really makes a big difference. Thank you, of course, for watching, and please remember to push that subscription button down there. So I think the project will finally kind of start to look like a boat. Plenty of things to do. Bye bye.